Dad Pod.
This is a video thing as well.
Doesn't have a name.
Podcast.
Midlife crisis.
Paddy Daddy.
Midlife crisis.
Dadcast.
That's not bad, actually.
Yes. We are back for episode 21, and I'm literally tweeting out about the fact that we are live. So if anybody actually wants to hit us up for some live shy talk, now would be a good time to tweet us. Or you can just
call now.
1850.
You can just use the hashtag Dadcast. I realised that our correspondence has fallen off a bit of a cliff because we stopped answering, because we stopped showing up, because we stopped doing the show. Dave, how are you? Welcome back.
Gentlemen, hello.
Dave.
It's almost like we missed you so much that we couldn't do it.
Well, that appears to be the case. I've only just learned that it wasn't being done in my absence.
I mean, come on, what do you mean? You're obviously subscribed and listening to every episode. You were like,
yes.
There's a gap in my life. I've missed the Dadcast.
When you drag your arse into the office, it guilts us to actually come into the studio and do this.
Well, if that's what it took, I'm glad.
It must be serious. McIntyre showed up. We better actually do some work, that sort of thing.
I've forgotten what this place looks like.
We'd forgotten what you look like. But
there you go.
Delighted you're here.
Yeah.
But don't worry, there's a new TV series coming apparently. I'm only vaguely aware of the existence of this thing.
What's it all about?
From annoyed WhatsApps that you're like, batting away. There's a camera crew following McIntyre around to chart his very existence.
As is often the case, pretty much everything you've said over the last 25 seconds is riddled with inaccuracies.
Well, yeah, I'm just filling in the gaps from our WhatsApps.
There's no TV series.
It's a one-off.
Revealed, I understand, is they work.
There is no camera crew following me around. There will be a little piece that people can watch coming out in the next few weeks, but that's all I can divulge at the moment. When it's ready to go, I shall...
one of his many platforms.
Are you sure this is a wise idea? Have you spoken to your agent about this? Like, in terms of... Is this like lifting the lid on McIntyre sort of uncovered?
McIntyre Uncovered. Hey, we even got the name.
It's not really...
I just happened to be in the gym this morning with my top off again. What are the chances?
Oh, sorry.
It's like that time Tony Pulis did the interview with The Guardian, and we arrived at the Stoke training ground at 5:30 a.m. to find Tony Pulis already in the gym, stripped off, pumping iron. It's like, this is how I start every day.
It's something that'll be on the Sports Chronicle website, and it's there's a couple of things that have already been out there. It's Heineken 00 is the product that it's mostly involved with.
Jesus, how many more brands do you reckon you get into?
None of these people give us any money.
You just have to wait for a few weeks and you'll see what it is, but it's really no big deal.
Well, we'll be the judges of that.
It was weird though, having camera crew following you around when you're pretending that it's not there. Like, that is really weird. You just have to.
But obviously, then
ice
the key
front
word
the
there
whole
is
time.
you're pretending it's not there, but you are actually somewhat acting because you know the camera's there.
Oh, 100%
How different
acting.
was your day because the camera crew was there?
I definitely didn't pick my nose as often.
Did you cry?
No, there was no crying. It's not always on you, but you're like
Sitting on the plane going, shit, don't watch that. Don't watch that.
Wonder, close down.
I'm going to watch this Afterlife program.
No, you just have to wait a few weeks and all will be revealed. And then you'll be disappointed by how trivial
I don't think so.
it actually is.
I think we're getting enough content from it to keep us going for about 6 months.
Yeah, we'll be underwhelmed and bring it up at every available opportunity for the next 10 years. You know how that's the old routines of the best,
I would
Dave.
expect nothing less.
So Nathan, you've had some correspondence, have you? You had somebody...
Well, yes, anonymously. Hold on here now. I got an anonymous WhatsApp.
From
dangerous.
Not from somebody at school.
Who's getting your mobile number?
No, it's
I
not
have an anonymous... I'm just making sure I don't mention the name. I have an anonymous Dadcast question. Oh, she actually has names in here as well. There's a kid on my son's rugby team being mean to him, pushing him over at every opportunity. He's 6. What advice do I give him? Also, his dad is the coach. Punch him in the face seems extreme, but it's what I want to tell him to do.
I mean, punch him in the face, I think, is the only acceptable answer.
Face.
Absolutely.
You can't. No. You can't punch him in the face.
Well, what are you going to do? You're going to be a victim, going to be a patsy all your life, Adrian?
You don't have to be a patsy to not punch him in the face. In fact, I would suggest, Ger, that the patsy routine would be to punch him straight back in the face. That's like...
No.
See, this is, I think, where, not having younger kids comes to the fore. Because you get to fully... I think within that, there's a deeper thing of, as your kids get to 6, 7 and start getting involved in group activities...
You don't want to tell them to punch another kid in the face.
with other kids' parents that are all a bit awkward and
Surely
strange
that's what you do. You'd speak to the other kid's parents and you say, listen, little Johnny there, can you tell him to stop punching my guy? Because
I think that's the last thing you do.
the last thing...
Absolutely, yeah.
Really?
It comes out the kids sort it out themselves.
I don't know. They're not 12 years old. At 6, the only advice you can give the 6-year-old is to throw a punch. I'm not quite sure that's the best advice to be giving someone so early in their life.
Being mildly facetious, but it's not. One is go and tell, right? That's the first thing. Is like, this guy keeps pushing me over, and it's the coach, and the coach says stop doing it, and then they keep doing it. What do they keep doing it? Yeah, exactly. So the coach says stop doing it, right? And he doesn't stop doing it. What do you do then?
What I would do is that I would speak to the coach, and I would certainly hint, albeit untruthfully, that there's the pair of them in it. So you go up to him, you say, look, little Jimmy there has been telling me that there's been a bit of aggro with himself and your son. Do you know what? I'm sure there's a pair of them in it. You spend more time with them when you're training them and coaching them. You wouldn't just keep half an eye on them and let me know if there's anything I can do to help the situation.
That's what I like.
Jimmy is there.
That's the first thing that came to my head.
I like that. That's
what I would do. Because then you're finding common ground with the coach. I'm not laying all the blame at your son's door.
Say the coach isn't there, right? Say it's a different scenario. Say the coach is like somebody else's dad or ma. What do you do in that instance?
You do the exact same.
And what if it continues?
Well, then you have to consider the next step.
Punch the head off him.
Mad for the violence. What I would say if it was my son, I would say, look, I would not encourage you to resort to violence, but you do also have to be able to stick up for yourself, not just now, but in the years to come, because I or your mother or whoever, your friend, isn't always going to be there to watch your back. If someone throws a punch at you, Daddy certainly won't be upset with you if you throw one back.
Can I just
But
make
this
a
is
point?
not how you solve your problems, by opting for violence as your number one option.
This is the first time in this podcast that I've thought, well, that is an excellent piece of advice from you, Dave. I nearly wish you, at this point, you were my dad. This is like...
It is a difficult situation, because I always think so the coach is the father, and the coach is the volunteer. He's the one who's giving of his time. But he's allowed, obviously, an environment at training where kids are being pretty rough with each other and punching each other, and like...
What's the root, you see? Why is he punching this specific kid? Is it, like, I mean, it could be jealousy.
Or it could be, my dad's the coach, I can do whatever the hell I want around here.
Well, that just makes them... So if it's jealousy, they're not a bully, they're just jealous, and that's how they're acting out.
And we don't know that this kid is the only victim of this bullying. He could be throwing his weight. This fella could be throwing his weight around, as Adrian says, maybe because his dad's the coach and he thinks he can get away with whatever he wants. And there could be several kids involved.
I think you have to go to the father, the coach,
could be insecure,
and tell him what's been happening. And as you say, maybe you couch it in language of, there's two of them in this. You know, we need to keep an eye on.
Boys will be boys.
And if nothing happens, unfortunately, you probably need to get to the situation.
At that point, you go back and you go, remember I said there was 2 of them in it? Well, look, I was lying.
Well, you have two choices. You either go to somebody higher up in the club and say, I have an issue with what's happening here. His son is bullying my child. I've told him, he's not doing anything about it, and let the club sort it out, which obviously creates a
massive lifelong division and tension in the club and splits the club in two.
Or you just take your child out and move him to another club.
That seems extreme.
Option number 3 is
Punch him in the head.
fit your son with a GoPro, hide it in his jersey, and then he can film the whole goings on over the course of the training session.
Sure, there's a GDPR angle in there.
Almost certainly illegal. Look, talk to the dad.
I think that's good.
And take it from there.
Jesus,
you're absolutely astonished.
Honestly,
he is speechless.
It's like Dave is speaking the most sense of anybody on this podcast right now. This has never happened before.
Say the dad's like, that's bollocks. Because most parents are going to be blind about their own kids' issues. They're going to say, my little Johnny.
That's why you don't approach the conversation in that way. You don't go to the coach and say, your son is a bully and you're doing nothing about it.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. Yeah, your son has been an absolute prick to my son. Like, you know, I've had to separate him a couple of times. You'd want to watch that. He's a bit violent. Did you learn that at home?
Hang on. This is option 1. You're heading straight to option 2.
Straight into it.
You're just assuming that this is how this coach is going to react, which I would say is highly unlikely.
We'll see.
You'd have to think that in most cases people are ultimately reasonable, right? Like, and also
I do think that actually this is the type of stuff where interventionist parenting results in your kids going, oh, there's an issue here, I'm not going to solve it because the solution comes from an exterior source always. Like, it's like, okay, you have to stop this. You've got to whatever it takes to stop this. You've got to stop it. Yeah, that might be you telling.
But this is step 1 of doing whatever it takes to stop this. Plus, I would rather my son my son, who's currently 4 years old, 2 years' time, he's going to be the same age as the kid involved in this story. I would rather that his first port of call when he's got a problem is, do you know what? My dad might have some advice for this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 39 and I've got an issue. The first thing I think of is, I wonder what my dad would have to say on this. I'd rather my sons did that.
No,
I'd rather they threw the punch, took that option and have it further down the list, quite a lot further down the list. Now, in my experience, when you're having someone who's having a little bit of a go at you, if you charge at them and deck them, almost certainly the problem is solved.
What happens though if you charge them, try to deck them, you're not big enough and they deck you instead?
Yeah, well then you know you're out of your depth.
And not every kid will be the kid who'll actually have the confidence to be able to go, look, can you stop doing that? I'm really not enjoying it. Like, obviously,
that's the first learning that.
I know, but like
better than the dad.
Look, totally. But what I'm saying is that actually there will be a bunch of kids who.
So the order should be.
But I've done that. I don't know. You know,
how do you teach your kids that? Like, that's the deeper thing in this. Well, how do you teach your kids to stand up for themselves?
Yeah. Well, do you have to deal with it and you have to talk about it all the time? It's like, see how you feel right now. It's like sad and annoyed and angry, and you won't feel like that if you solve this problem. And the only way to solve this problem is to address it. If I go in and solve this problem for you, for the rest of your life, you're not going to have the skills to deal with this. Okay, maybe you acquire them later on. I don't know. I'm not writing off your ability to learn.
Suggesting parents should never help their children when they've got issues.
Absolutely not. I'm saying the best way to help them is to solve it themselves. So I was being facetious with the punch them straight back. But like, definitely, you say, stop doing that. Don't do it again. Okay, if you do it again, I'm going to tell on you.
So you're relegating the punch to option 3. So you are now making sense. If the parents discuss this, and the parent who's contacted you, Nathan, sees absolutely no progress in the situation, then you probably have to sit down with your son and say, look, if this happens to you again, this is how I advise you handle it in that situation.
And then you practice it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Don't punch the child the way the child's being punched.
We should accept this as a little Dadcast project. So advise the parent to go through option number 1. Don't take it any further until they've come back to us for further advice should that option not work out.
Unfortunately, they said this about 6 weeks ago. I
was going to say, it's like, and the next one won't be for another 6 weeks.
The biggest concerning thing about that is that somebody's contacting you or Dadcast for this, like that we've never set ourselves up as like a podcast that is going to give best advice in this area. Like, we're just taking part.
We will give advice.
We will give.
It may not be best practice.
I mean, in your case, this is excellent advice. Why don't they get on to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about?
But there is a very good chance.
Who's that person?
Yeah, nobody knows.
There
must
be like.
That's the point. Nobody does know.
Well, there must be. There has to be.
Yeah, anybody who does writes those books that you go, this is bullshit.
Well, they are.
But it's the sort of thing you don't. It's a part of parenting you don't think about until it crops up. When your kids are very young, you go, my child's going to play football and hurling, and they'll just go and they'll have a fun time, and then they go and they'll be, I don't like it because actually I don't get on with that guy. And you're like, what do you mean you don't get on with this guy in school?
Yeah.
Is he bullying in school? What? Like, all of a sudden there's these issues. I don't like the coach. I don't like this. Or the coach wants to get the team to play a certain way. And
I would also say that there's a significant difference between the type of stuff that you're talking about, which is the physical stuff, and the far more insidious separating people from the group, that kind of stuff that, like, you can't get the parents to intervene because it's just going to make it worse. Say that was bullying, right? That was like far less pronounced or clear cut as punch in the head. Well, that looks wrong because everybody can see that. But it's like they're playing football and he doesn't get passed to. He doesn't get passed to 5 times when the pass was on 5 times. What do you say? Do you tell the coach they're not passing to him? Like, how do you have that conversation? The kid needs some architecture and ability to go, that feels wrong to me, but I don't know what to do about it. And certainly it's a conversation, but it can't be like going to the coach, you've got to, because then the kids will be like, look, you've got your dad to fix
That's
it.
what I would think. That there are different scenarios, and the punch in the head one for me,
I would probably punch that one in the head.
Outright, the pass. That's outright.
Have you ever punched anyone in the head?
Never in my life. What are you talking about?
What if they hit me back?
What are you talking about?
I think there's different solutions for different issues.
I was the punchy.
And if your kids see you doing the right thing, which is going to have a discussion about it, that's also pretty good. In terms of interventionist parenting, that's also a pretty good lesson. It's like, Dad didn't go and lose the rag over it. Yeah,
I also can't be sitting lecturing my elder son for thumping his younger brother as his first port of call when, say, the little man take something off him, and then as soon as he comes to me with a problem where he's been pushed around, do you know what? Just hit him back. There are examples that need to be set here.
Yeah.
You can't preach one thing and then practice another.
The standing up for yourself is a euphemism for giving him a dig in the head, ultimately.
I do think it's more difficult because the child involved is the son of the coach, because the child may well be a very good reflection of the father.
Ooh, shots fired.
I have no idea who these people are, but like it could be something very small and the kid's just acting out and he thinks he can get away with it because his dad is the coach, and what's he really going to do?
Or the coach might be horrified, and because he is the coach,
he might
feel he's in a situation where he has to be totally aware of such things.
Or the coach might want to coach the team because he thinks his son is God's gift and wants to tell him, here, listen, I'm the coach.
Or he might
the best
be,
player of this team.
which is frequently the case, somebody just ends up coaching the team because nobody else is volunteering to do it, and they're not even into football and they haven't a clue what's going on. They certainly don't know how to coach. They don't know how to people manage, never mind about child manage. Like, I'm sure that happens all the time. Like a reluctant coach, and Nathan's coming up going, oh, your kid is punching my kid, can you make that stop? And you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to be here in the first place. Like, I'm sure that we're not assuming that the people who are frequently coaching teams are in any way equipped to do it.
No, they probably aren't. So I went to the Ireland-Georgia game with my eldest, and it struck me, like, we only stayed an hour because she was knackered. It was like a
First game?
Yeah.
What did you say was Coleman's performance?
Tuesday evening. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Really liked it.
When Adrian's coach of the under-6s and he's taking little snapshots, screenshots of their performance. Point out exactly what went wrong.
Piss off, move on.
He is her favourite player, I would say. It goes first to say that. It did strike me that it's not a great experience if you're not drinking. The Aviva took 40 minutes to get a bottle of water. Yeah, I mean, come on, let's get pissed here. But it did strike me which jacks would we use if we needed to go. I mean, obviously I left it before that became an issue, but like, am I going into the disgusting men's toilets? Really?
Yes.
And then I realised she's 7, she can just go into the women's on her own. I can wait outside. I can be the creepy perv standing outside the women's jacks. But I asked that on the Dadcast, at Dadcast Pod on Twitter, and everybody almost uniformly was like, bring her into the men's.
But you're going to walk into the ladies?
Yeah. What are the... Well, you think
there's only 2 options. Going to the ladies is not an option.
Of course it is.
What? That's what he did.
What are you talking about?
You brought her... You brought her
ladies with her.
What would be wrong with that?
A man walking into a woman's toilet.
I mean, they're not fucking pissing at a urinal.
I'm still though.
What does what they're doing? They presumably...
Here it is. This is at the core of it. God knows what they're doing is what Nathan just said. What do you think? It's some kind of weird 1970s prison movie in there where everybody is like getting it on. Is that what this is? The fucking weird perverse shit that is behind everybody saying you can't possibly walk in. They're washing their hands and they're using the dryer and that's it.
That is not my point.
That is the mystery of what the women are doing in the women's toilets.
My point is that when women go into the women's toilets, they presume that a man is not going to rock up.
Yeah, but
they feel there's a certain amount of privacy there.
But I'm not a man. I'm a man with my daughter, carrying her in.
I'm not a man. Quote.
And going straight in to the cubicle, and we're staying there until she's finished, and we're coming out, we're washing our hands, and we're going. And it's like, it's all business.
No, I know the GoPro option is definitely illegal here, but it would be worth seeing the reaction when Cher rocks in.
It's a tricky one. It's definitely not.
It's not tricky. You go to the men's.
No.
What's the difference between bringing the girl to the men's and the boys to the men's?
The men's is jammed, right? It's absolutely jammed. It's filthy.
Plus, it's not a case where they're all in. They're standing at urinals with their
lads out.
Exactly. It's a very different situation.
Not that that's a big deal either. It's just that, like, she is a woman.
It is
she
more
would like to go to the women's.
It's more pronounced than it would be in the women's toilets, where everything happens behind closed doors, apart from the hand washing and whatever else, Nathan, you think goes on in those toilets.
Just as a matter of interest, as we're on the topic, what is it you think goes on in there?
God knows what they're up to.
Yeah, like
that's
what
the quote of the week.
Could you answer that one? What do you?
But
my point is,
I think that was at the heart of this. Like,
my point is that if you're going in to the women's toilets, they feel that the second they go into the women's toilets, there's privacy. Not just when they go into the cubicle and the door's locked.
8 years old, correct?
No, but sorry.
So
God knows what they're at in there.
Depends on the girl as well.
I hadn't really thought it through. Like,
it depends how mature your daughter might be.
I hadn't thought it through.
At what point, when you were standing in the women's toilets on your own, strolling up and down, did you realise?
I know the whole thing feels a bit dodged to me. a grown man walking into a women's toilet.
But I'm not alone.
I understand that.
There's a significant difference. You have like this human shield. It's like, oh, she just needs to go to the toilet. She's insisting on going to the
I get
women's.
that.
That's her choice.
But
and what are you going to do about it?
Well, what about this? All right, you let your 7-year-old go in then by herself. What if you saw a man going in?
I didn't let her go in herself. We didn't go in the end.
Okay.
you could just stand outside.
It turns out, in retrospect, that would have been. But like, so with my 4-year-old, if she insisted on going to the women's, I would bring her and I would not let her go on her own because she could lock the door and we'd be stuck there for 3 weeks. Like, that's a very significant, realistic possibility. She'd lock the door and be like, ha ha ha.
Well, what?
Like in the biggest women's toilets in Ireland.
Thank goodness, what they're doing.
None of the three of us have experience of this because none of us have daughters of that age. So, what was the advice generally that you got from your
Men's, oh, you can't go into the women's. God knows what they'll be doing. Who knows what you might see?
There is a tweak on this issue that I had to experience very recently where I was in a popular Dublin pub for Sunday lunch and Con
so it's not.
had done
JT Pims.
So it's not what? Finish that sentence.
No. Good plug though, but no. Con had done a poo and we had to bring him to the toilet, so I inquired as to where the baby changers were and was helpfully directed towards the women's toilets. And so I was like, oh, right, can I go into the women's toilets? And the girl was like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the only option you have.
And also, they're not doing anything in there.
What are they doing in there? But the difficulty I had was that, so I went in, essentially 2 men going into the women's toilets, looking over her shoulders, going, oh, is there, hello, anybody in? So there was just 2 cubicles, one with the baby changer, obviously, and we went in. We were in the process of changing, and while we were in there, a woman came into the toilet and was just doing her thing. She seemed to be only having a number 1. Fair play to her, very considerate. And so Con, in the middle of all this anyway,
There's no need for that bit of detail.
Decides he's getting really chatty, and he starts going, Dada, Dada, Dada. Yes. What's up? Dada! Dada!
That woman did a farty.
And I'm wondering whether I should affect a woman's, because so I don't want the woman to think that there's a child in there and their own sort of having to change themselves and looking for Dada.
But worse, there might be a man listening to me have a piss.
So then I'm sort of considering giving it the whole, yes, son, it's okay, everything's fine. We shall wrap up now in the like Mrs. Doubtfire style. And but no, I just thought the best option was to whisper to him to try and sort of get him to shut the hell up and wrap things up, and then wait until everybody was fit. Like I definitely felt I shouldn't have been put in that position. I thought it was wrong, and I definitely felt weird about going in, and I definitely felt weird about being in there, and I definitely felt weird about trying to sneak out. It was all very weird, and I shouldn't have been put in that position. My wife should have done the nappy.
That's what I was just going to say.
Well, there should be a separate baby changing facility in most places. There really should.
It's bollocks.
There's a disabled toilet in most places, isn't there?
Or
so it should be in there.
But if it doesn't matter, they need to put unisex on the door.
Well, that's
my point about your predicament,
that's
right?
The answer.
You're fine to be in there as long as they say this is a unisex toilet. But it being labelled a women's toilet, I think, to be fair, I shouldn't be in there, but like I'm forced to go in there. Well, if they say it's unisex, then it's okay. But
it's like it also says women's and baby changing. So whoever's changing.
No, it didn't actually. This was just said. All it said on the door was women's toilet, and it's frequently the case.
It's an interesting one, though. Well worth discussing. I hope, and I know I'll never be in that position that you were in.
Well, did you get it done? Did you get the slip done in the 6 weeks we were away?
No, it's too busy.
The camera was following me around. Well, this is awkward.
Oh, he's easy picking up a beaker.
The camera was there for one day. One day.
Wow.
No, I haven't, but like, nothing has changed in the overall mindset. Nothing, zero.
You're not having a baby.
Oh God, no.
So you might be coming back to
a friend of mine called over. Yesterday. His 2 kids are a similar age to my 2, both girls, and obviously the same question would be asked of him and his wife as would be asked of me and mine. Oh, will you go again, like to have a little girl? And in his case, you'd love a little boy, wouldn't you? Absolutely not. Just why? At this age, look at him. He's aged horribly in the last few months.
The aging process is irrevocable, and we may as well. We're all hurtling towards death. We may as well do it with as many people in the back of the car as possible.
I do feel that parenthood is aging me far quicker than I was only having this thought during the week as I was left at home with the 2 children for the first time ever and was failing miserably at it, desperately, horribly, to the point where I had to text my wife to come home. It was horrific after 2 hours. Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, no. To be fair,
she at work.
No. It was an evening, and she'd gone. Ironically enough, she had gone off to an evening. A talk about sleeping for children, and I couldn't get the 2 fuckers to sleep. And and then so I had to essentially abandon the eldest fella because I thought, look, you're going to be wailing, but you're only really looking for attention, whereas the baby is wailing, and there's clearly something up with her. And an hour and a half into the wailing, I just thought, I can't actually deal with this anymore, and this can't be good for you. It's definitely not good for me.
You've left the Dadcast.
But what was the alternative? The alternative was to sit there for another. My wife was going to be home probably another hour after that.
Yeah.
Sit there.
Suck it up.
No, but it wasn't even to do with me. The child was red in the face, had been wailing. Honestly, not just crying, wailing.
Yeah.
So was she sick?
For an hour and a half. No, my wife came in the door and she went in the boob and she stopped wailing straight away.
Did you have a bottle for her?
But you would also
I tried to give her a bottle, but she wouldn't take it.
Because we spoke before you even went home and you were saying this is going to be a disaster.
It's going to be a nightmare, and sure enough. I came to there was a window, right, of about 5 minutes where my wife had gone out and I thought, she's asleep. You're about to go to sleep.
I know.
I'm brilliant at this shit. I am brilliant at it.
That's happened a couple of times.
There's a point that's not literally your wife's life for...
Well, she did make this point when she came home.
16 hours every day.
The difficulty is, obviously, but the difficulty is that I don't have the magic to make the child stop wailing. As in,
Love
I don't
and
have boobs. Well, I mean, maybe that too.
But you do have the ability to save face, and you lost all of that.
I understood all of that point, and I thought the correct call for the child at that.
Don't
point,
worry about the child.
No,
worry about
wailing.
your own status.
She was wailing.
For another hour. What harm?
She was red in the face. Her eyes were red.
Yeah. But that's the.
She was sucking in so much air. She was constantly burping. It was like.
Don't try and justify yourself.
I know, you phoned your wife to come back and talk to you.
Do you know what? She'd been on a text going, how's everything? She hadn't heard from me in a half an hour, so she knew there was something.
Don't worry.
She knew there was something up.
Yeah. And then,
it wasn't grand though.
But it would have been grand. They cried themselves to sleep eventually.
An hour and a half
It would have been a great learning.
Well, it was a great learning. It was a great learning.
And suddenly the child is sleeping through the night. You're like, how did this happen? Well, I just left.
It was a great learning. I shouldn't be left at home on my own with them.
What are you going to do next time you're in a similar situation? You're just going to text her again.
What if she has to go away for business?
That'll never happen again. Yeah.
Man up, will you? Come on.
I mean,
bloody hell.
I made what I thought was the right call.
You've let everybody down there.
Over it.
Wow.
You made the right call for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it did have that consequence, obviously, but it was also the right call for the child.
I'm disappointed.
Within 5 minutes of your wife coming home, what were you doing? Feet up on the
I
couch.
was in bed. But literally, she comes in, puts the child in the boob. Child's like, great, she's home. That's fantastic.
You never leave again, though.
She's leaving next week for the day.
Oh.
How long is the day?
Full day.
And the night?
No.
Some
point in the evening. Listen, I had the best part of 2 hours with them, and I'm telling you, I failed.
How?
Right?
Okay. So we shouldn't laugh because it's terrible.
Well, it's too late to put that back in the bottle.
But so
I'd expect nothing less.
What age? What age is your daughter?
Nearly 5 months.
Okay,
4.5, 5 months.
So how much longer on the boob do you reckon?
Up to 6 months, I'd say.
Right. So soon enough there'll be
Well, there's already a lot of expressing going on, and the expressing has been done with the express intention that I will be the one feeding the child.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm okay
and is
with
that not working yet?
It's just not, it didn't work, so the difficulty
Text her
was...
to come home.
The difficulty was that I was trying to give the child the bottle. They have to get the old Pringles lips going on and all that stuff, but the child was convulsing with the crying to the point that whatever milk was going into her, she was just choking. She woke up pretty quickly after my wife went off, and so she had been asleep in one room, and then I was in next door with the other fella who was just dozing off, all jaunty, everything is going to be fine, and then she starts little bits of crying, and it just snowballed out of all proportion.
And so, what age is Con?
I was going to say 4. He's
3.
2 and a little bit.
2 and a bit. Okay,
Yeah.
So 2 and a bit, you can kind of say.
I said to him, okay, will I bring you into our bed? So And then, see, the baby was in our bed, so I knew that if I could get him into our bed, that was enough of a carrot to bring him in there, enough of a reward that he didn't need me then. He had the bed, that was great. That was enough reward for him.
The baby wasn't in your bed.
So, no, she was. Then I had to take her out and bring her downstairs because she was wailing.
Right.
So, but then obviously
Anyone else bored now at this stage?
then obviously he starts crying. Oh, listen, it's traumatic. It's traumatic reading.
McIntyre's come back an asshole.
Come back an asshole.
Speaking of boring stories, I was thinking last night at about 3 a.m.
You asked about it, you
Jesus
wanker.
Christ.
I have to respond.
Yeah, but you could have been polite and like cut it a bit shorter.
And then I took the 18 steps to bring one child into the bed.
Oh, fuck off. It was traumatic enough at the time. I don't need your bullshit now. Your lack of empathy is
What are the lessons?
galling. That my wife should just never leave me alone with the children anymore.
Oh, wow.
My wife's going away actually in a few weeks.
I've got all three of them this weekend. I've got all three of them this weekend.
Yeah,
on my
but
own.
yours are all like, it's not the same thing. I'm sorry. It's just not.
I'm
You also
6 months old.
know it's not. Yours, maybe there are some similarities, to be fair. But no, but it's not.
Hell
It's
would
not
have to freeze
no,
over
it's
before I would
also
text
not.
my wife to come home.
No, it's also not the same thing because
Mine
the
can
other two
run
lads are
away.
enough.
I can open the front door, unlock it, and talk to strangers, take sweets from them, and disappear and never be seen again. That's yours. Yours are immobile. One of yours can't even roll over, barely.
You can't reason with any of them. One of them is. You can't reason with them.
I think you should probably realise that there is no reasoning with your children ever. It turns out.
What I find if I'm left with them for a considerable period, and we're lucky and we live in kind of a nice little estate where there's lots of kids around the same age, so kids go in and out of other people's houses, is that the two lads go out at say 4 o'clock, and at 7 o'clock I'm going,
Yeah.
Should get that
I
back.
presume they're all right, but I'm having a perfectly relaxing day, so
3 pints in.
Yeah, well, there's
This has worked
that
out quite
myth
well.
that, like, my parents firmly believed they knew where we were all the time, when in reality they knew where we were about 4% of the time. And, like, that's where it's different. Now, you're lucky, as you say, you have that setup where you can just let them kind of roam free and you're happy enough that they're out there in the cul-de-sac. Whereas it's not the same where we live, and next couple of years now we'll have to decide, do we just let them out onto the street? Like, there's cars and there's no real green area within, you know, our eye line. I don't know what to do then. Whereas my parents are just like, get out, don't come back till you're hungry.
Yeah.
Then eat your lunch and get out again. So, I don't know. Jerry, you live on a main road.
Yeah.
So, like, you have that decision to make.
And there's massive building work starting across the road from us, putting in 380 apartments.
Oof.
Yeah. Even though there's only water for 320. Don't know how that happened. But anyway. Rob Byrne was on Twitter in response to the where do you go? Mine is 4. She insists on using the women's. I can't blame her. She gets in on her own, and I hope for the best while keeping one eye on both exits. Usually an older woman will see what's going on and tell you they'll keep an eye out.
well, that's fine. The concern obviously there is your 4-year-old, as you said, locks the door.
Yeah, totally.
20 minutes later, there's no return. You then have to go into the toilets and start looking over all the cubicles to see which one she's in.
That's a good idea. Get a woman that you can trust.
Jumping up, looking down at people having that's what's going on. We've got to the bottom of Nathan's problem.
Nathan! I figured it out.
Yeah. Your daughter's outside. She has been for 20 minutes screaming your name. It's like, oh, be out in a minute.
It's more telling about Nathan, really, isn't it?
Like, well, I mean,
Oh, God. Yeah, here's one for you. 1-year-old, I was asked where the baby changing was. I was told it was in the ladies' jacks. I'm on my own. What to do?
Well,
The lads' jacks had to do it once, says some guy. I do remember changing babies on the floor of a toilet one time.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
No, then you, like...
That's like the disease that they're getting off that floor.
Most men's toilets, there's no longer a toilet seat there. You can't even put the toilet seat down and maybe put a blanket over it and go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty mouldy. At least when they're a little bit older, like when they're 2+, you can do it standing up.
Oh,
It's
my
not as
youngest lad
easy,
refuses
but you can
to
get
pee
the job
standing
done.
up. It's infuriating.
What?
He refuses to pee standing up, the youngest lad.
Welcome to the little Lord Fauntleroy.
What's his
I want
problem?
the heated seat.
Yeah, literally, he just likes to relax, so he wants to sit. He wants to sit down.
Like that.
And fun, it's not as easy as you might think to, just tuck it in under the toilet seat.
No, because everywhere.
So you have to do, but you also have to do a full 18 minutes. So he's like, I need to go, and I'm like, I just need to spend another 18 minutes cleaning this toilet seat before I let you sit on it.
Oh, yeah.
You're like Howard Hughes, are you? Little
Bit
specks of-
OCD.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be grand. What could possibly happen to them? He might fall down it. Damien Fitzpatrick said, "See, I have to disagree with most here. I used to always bring my daughter into the girls. There's a lot more she can see in the men's than I can see in the ladies. Not unless you're Nathan." Didn't go down all the... didn't go down well all the time now.
Your reputation is in tatters.
Jax is one
At
thing.
least I didn't text my wife after 2 hours.
No, that's true. You were just in the women's Jags pervert on women.
hang on.
Sorry, that never happened. This is a make-believe story. Yours actually happened 48 hours ago.
In terms of this podcast and the four lads in these chairs, what his crime is far less a crime perving in a women's toilet
I mean,
than
I think
texting your wife
I think it's
to
fine.
come home.
I think it's fine. That's an actual crime.
Firstly,
that's an actual crime.
just so we're clear, that never happened. Never happened.
It was just resting in my account.
Jax is one thing. How about bringing a boy and a girl swimming? There's only male, female changing rooms. There's like occasional places where you get lucky enough to have
A family room.
yeah, and it's always busy. As we've talked about before, that pregnant woman in the family room, strict no go. I'm sorry, until that baby pops, you are not a family.
Whoa,
You can't have that family room.
a pregnant woman
Oh,
is
no other
using the
children.
family changing room, but she doesn't actually have any kids.
Yeah.
Oh, no
I
way.
think she's
That's a
probably.
grey area.
I think
Now, you
no.
should be a brave man to tell her.
Oh yeah, totally. You're not.
Yeah,
you're not
exactly.
saying
And I
anything.
think like pregnant.
Especially if it turns out she's not pregnant.
In that case, it's win-win, right?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Wow.
Swimming. I think that's all totally fine. Swimming, you go whichever is available. I mean, you're not going into the women's changing room as a grown male, bringing your daughter in there. She's coming into the men's. And that's it.
Something that annoys me regularly is there is a family changing room. It's just like a room off the main gents change room in my gym. And there are signs everywhere. This is for fathers who have sons and daughters who are getting changed to go swimming. If you see somebody in here without their children, politely ask them to leave. If they don't leave, please contact a member of staff. There are 3 or 4 full A4 pages laminated all over this place to say, you don't go in there unless you're in there changing with your kids. Every time I go in, there's somebody there. And I've just got tired of telling them to get out. Because at some stage you're going to get punched in the face if you happen to say it to the wrong person. It is a gym after all, you know. All
what are they
sorts
doing in there?
frequent gyms. They're just getting changed. It's perfectly innocent.
but I mean,
like,
on their
what are
own.
they? Yeah, why are you
What
in
are they
there?
hiding, Dave? What are they
It's not,
hiding?
none of them are hiding anything, but they just shouldn't be in there.
Are they pumping steroids in?
No, it could be like young fellas like in their teens to fellas my age to more elderly gents.
We know what the young fellas and the teens are doing.
They're just getting changed, but the signs are so obvious that it annoys me that I have to consider having a conversation with this stranger nearly every time I bring the boys in. Look, would you mind getting changed in here? This is only a parent and child
And what's
changing
their response
area.
to that?
Well, one
Fuck
fella
off,
was,
out lad.
no one has been
Mind your own
hostile.
business.
One fella was like, well, I hope you're bleeding going to say that to everyone that walks in here.
Dave was like, yes, I am.
I said, well, yeah, that is my intention. It's no longer my intention because I just couldn't be bothered having this conversation anymore.
Wow.
But I
I've
can
already
do...
had 3 conversations with people who've been parked in the parent and child park.
It's the same person. McIntyre's running around after them with a camera crew following them, roaring at them.
McIntyre uncovered.
Now, that's a documentary I actually want to see.
The last time it happened, the older guy
outside
said,
Woodlands
Daddy,
for an
why is
hour."
that man in here?
To you.
No, to me, but obviously your man's only 3 seats away. You can hear exactly the conversation. So I just said, don't worry about him. You know, you're grand. You just get changed.
Oh, so you got changed in there with them?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, otherwise I was changing out in the main area with everybody else.
idea.
Pretty tight space.
Well, no, it's actually a generous space. But
That's probably why people are using it. It's more generous, I assume.
yeah, but they shouldn't be.
But if you've only got lads, why aren't you just using the men's?
Because it's just, I think they're more comfortable in there. There's far more space.
They
You're
can't
not
run
tripping
off.
over lads who are, and there's a gate on it.
They can't run off.
They can't run off.
Yeah,
which is only an issue for one of them, really. But plus, there aren't like 50, 60 lads up and down with their towels around their waists, and you know the way some lads like to dry themselves in a gym after
Give
the
them
workout.
the old towel
I'd
trick.
rather I didn't put the 2 lads through that either.
They're going to see one man posing. He's like, I got there, lads, now.
The leg up and I
Get the hair dryer out.
the old tooth floss.
Some of the body types might be too fat. So I said, we're recording now. Hit us up for any live shy talk. Sue helpfully got in touch to say, I meant to tell you about the kid that gets on the bus with me every morning with his dad. He's about 5 or 6. Got on one morning, he was having a row with the dad. He looked at the bus driver and shouted, my daddy isn't wearing any underpants. Nobody knew where to look. Hero.
What about the stuff that kids tell the teachers in school? Because for the last couple of weeks, we're doing a quiz for the PTA, and you love the
PTA.
Lovely association, I understand.
So we're videoing all the children
efficient.
asking the questions for the quiz. So it's all based on stuff they're learning at school, and then the parents have to answer them on the night from the big screen.
Right.
But we're kind of doing you're kind of chatting to them beforehand.
It's very elaborate, Nathan. Very posh little school you're going to there, where
I hope some people turn up to it. The amount of shit that the kids come out with about their parents. And I was saying it to one of the teachers, and she's like, "Oh yeah, everything that happens in your house comes back eventually."
Right. And you're like, everything?
My mommy said, my daddy, which is a bit disturbing.
Yeah, have you got any examples of stuff that you've done that you've got back?
Well, one kid said, my mommy can't do the splits because she's too fat.
I presume that's ending up on the cutting room floor.
Yes.
This is still on camera.
Yeah.
All right. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Good line. You should do outtakes.
So this is what I did, an outtakes thing to sort of sell it. And my wife was like, you cannot.
You really can't.
You cannot put that
Well,
in.
unless you were to go to the woman and go, listen, it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm too fat to do them too, so what's the big deal?
Yeah, but if she's actually too fat to do the splits.
Well, no one can do the splits at our age.
Yeah, but
I don't think fatness is a precursor for being able to do the
no,
splits.
it's not. Our reason is that we can't do it.
Yeah,
but like
flexibility is more important.
It's been a good social study though, because the theme of it is like, are you smarter than your kids? So we'd say to the kids, like, do you think you're smarter than your parents? I would say 80% of them say, definitely smarter than my mummy.
Wow.
Like, consistently.
that's
say?
unusual.
What did your kids say?
Well, my kids were like, my dad's here in the room, I'm not going to say anything.
All right.
A little bit shy then. But then you ask them, it's the mother who does their homework with them every day.
That doesn't make any sense.
So
kids
are innately sexist. But they're being...
My daddy is smarter.
They're being conditioned into it, even though they all grew up watching Pepe, where that clearly...
Well, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Anti-dad, Peppa Pig.
I mean, it's not right.
It's totally anti-dad.
It isn't. It's fine.
It's a horrible message to be sending to kids.
But
your dad's an idiot.
He isn't, though. He has a great
He's
life.
a total fool.
Have
you seen him try to hang up the paintings?
That's what he wants.
Did you ever see him try to hang up the paintings that day? And he nearly pulls the whole house down.
Did he at any stage having to mind the kids, George and Pepper, for 2 hours, ring Mommy Pig to come back home because he was a little
No,
bit tired?
Daddy Pig would not stand for being left alone on his own. He's a wise man.
Yeah, I think Daddy Pig would be left on his own quite a bit.
I was thinking last night at about 3 a.m. because we've moved the baby to the other room and
hey, freedom! You're finally getting a little bit
of a pain in the hole.
That's all done, Jerry.
Are you kidding me?
He's not falling down that one again. He's done.
Careful now.
Jesus Christ.
So I was going to say there's a lot of up and down at the moment. There's a lot. Sorry, a lot of in and out is also a problem.
The comic timing of my coffee cup.
Make your point.
Quickly. So she's doing this thing where she's waking 4 or 5 times. Very briefly, 4 or 5 times she's waking during the night, the baby. So you're having to get up and give her the soother and back in on it. And eventually sometimes you have to bring her back into the bed so she goes to sleep. So you bring the baby back into your bed. And then after about an hour of lying in the most uncomfortable position possible with your left arm outstretched and it's now dead, you're like, all right, it's 4:30, I'm going to put the baby back into the cot again. Is there anything more dangerous than bringing your child back into their own room at 4:30 in the morning?
Dangerous how?
To wake them back up or to...
No, because you're so bloody literally last night I nearly went straight, literally just fell straight over. Yeah. I got out of bed, I'm half asleep.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw my wife under the bus. 2 nights ago, she smacked the baby's head off the door as she was going out of the room.
Oh, this podcast is really taking it.
We've all done it.
I'm like... It's every single time I get out of bed and I have the baby in my arms and this arm is dead and straight away my legs are wobbly and you're going, oh my God. It's only like 25 steps to bring her back to the cot, but literally it is.
No, we've all closed the car door before our kids are fully exited the car. Well, my fella's been clipped on once or twice. and he just looks at me going like, how can you be so stupid?
Yeah. Why did you do that?
How can that happen? I clearly had not exited the door opening area.
You are dad a pig, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. Well, I certainly have an awful lot of his traits, yes. I can dispense decent advice on occasion, but very rarely.
Good advice, Dave. That's
very rarely.
You're in a lot of trouble.
Well, the one take we can take from this episode is that Adrian has let himself and the podcast down.
I make no apologies for it. I stand over it. Well, I mean,
what would you do next time?
Next time we know the answer to that question.
No, but like, I mean, in a serious way, like, I think I probably need to give the baby the bottle more often.
Yeah,
that might help. So my wife tells me. What else has she told me?
You need to sort out sleeping of the eldest. Like, no matter what happens, he's staying in his bed and he's not getting out. And it's like,
yeah. I mean, it was a war zone, so it was.
Yeah.
What can I do to fix this shit now? And like, I felt guilty then because he was like lying in the bed on his own for half an hour calling for me, and there was nothing I could do. Like, so eventually it just petered out, and he went.
Of course it did. Always does.
I know, yeah, but like,
would you normally answer
traumatic? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't even go that long. Yeah, I wouldn't even go for half an hour.
Now that you've seen it go half an hour and he's fallen asleep.
Yeah, I'd probably still go up and.
Was he calling you or wailing?
No, you know the difference between sort of like Dada, oh, come on up, sort of thing.
Yeah,
versus
bored.
like
yeah.
But so it's sometimes it can be wailing, but it's self-induced wailing. It's not wailing for any reason. I'll go up and he'll go, oh, water or something. It's like, and then you give him the water and he takes like a drop.
Like, yeah, he's taking the piss.
Doesn't want the water. Yeah.
So just ignore him.
Yeah.
It'll never ever go beyond an hour.
God, I couldn't say. We had this discussion very early in this podcast series where I couldn't sit through an hour. I couldn't.
It's very easy to do. You turn the monitor off and turn the TV up.
Oh,
you still have a monitor for not for the 2.5-year-old. Ah, come on.
Yeah. Why should you not have a monitor at
that stage? No.
Really?
The monitor is so that they don't like choke and you kind of hear the.
Oh, we still have a monitor when we're downstairs.
Yeah.
What age is the eldest?
4 and 2. They could be thumping the head off each other.
But you don't need it anymore. Let them. They'll work it out. Law of the jungle.
Well, you've obviously.
Well, we do for the baby, yeah.
What age do you get rid of them at?
Like fairly quick.
Right.
Once they're sleeping and they're safe. Once you feel like they're safe, and they're not going to have any of those.
Plus, I like to know if they've fallen out of the bed as well.
Well, she'll hear the thump.
Well,
start crying.
Not if I've got the match on loud.
All right. Anybody? Any closing?
No, it's good to be back.
I think enough damage has been done for one podcast.
That feels like a pretty damaging podcast for everybody.
We've set parenting back another step with the last hour.
This really has been full circle. Like, I think the three of us, for various degrees, have come out of this badly. You're going into women's toilets. You're also going into women's toilets, and have said some things about your wife that I think you regret. me, the obvious. And then you've actually come out of this quite well.
It's just like in Ireland Soccer International. There's rarely more than one of them that comes out with their reputation enhanced.
21 episodes of Dadcast are in the book. Thanks very much for being along for the journey. Rate us if you're listening to this on iTunes.
Not as parents, though.
No, yeah. I mean, rate us as parents if you want. We can take it. Give us some feedback. You can always email us, dadcast@offtheball.com. It is dadcast@offtheball.com. It's dadcastpod on Twitter. You can just use the hashtag dadcast and we'll pick up your stuff. And we will answer some of the questions and queries, anonymous or otherwise. Promise not to read out your names next time. Thanks very much for being part of this. See you soon. Bye.